JBR Podcast.
Wake up and check it out.
Where music and life connects. Let's go.
So we got Darby Mills here. So I want to get right into it and and tell me, like, how did you get into the music business?
My dad was a soprano, and I would listen to him sing as a child. I I tell this story. I'm putting together a live documentary. It's the best way I can describe it right now, called True Story. And I start the documentary explaining this exact thing, where I'm 4 years old, if 3 years old or younger, and sitting on the beach at the bonfires at night, listening to my dad sing songs like Danny Boy and those old classics. And the lake is less than a mile wide, and there's bonfires all the way down on the other side as well as on our side. And he would sing a song, and the applause would come back, echo across the lake. And I just thought that was so very cool that people were applauding my dad singing. And I think that was the start of it all. I knew from a very young age I was going to be an entertainer. God help me. I did. And yeah.
So you started singing very, very young. And when did you get into your first live shows? Were you singing around the campfire?
No, I wasn't actually. I was quite young. I started figure skating, and I spent every summer for 12 years, all the time I was in school, at figure skating camp during the summer. So I missed a lot of the summer activity out at the lake after that. But no, I was not going to be a singer. I never got on the elementary school choir. They didn't want me. And it was, and, no, it wasn't until high school. And I tell this story too, that my high school buddies were in a band, and they were rehearsing in Richard's bedroom in the basement of his parents' house. And all the girls were over watching them rehearse one day, and they went into Barracuda by heart, and I was laughing, and they stopped the song, and they're like, what's the problem? I said, the guy can't sing a girl's song, like, that's just wrong. I was 16, I think, at the time. And they went, well, then you sing it. And I'm like, well, then I will. And I sang Barracuda because I was gaga over heart. And a month later, they had a show, 100 Mile House, at the high school, and they invited me to go sing Barracuda by heart. Or no, it was Crazy on You, not Barracuda. It was Crazy on You. And so I got up and did it, and that was it. And I was like, oh, I get it. This is cool. And formed my own band right after that, and have been knocking my head against the wall ever since.
So what was your first band?
Kashmir. Led
Kashmir.
Zeppelin Cop. We weren't a Led Zeppelin tribute band, but we loved Led Zeppelin. So the name of the band was Kashmir. Yeah.
Nice. And then where did that lead you into?
Where did I go from there? Oh, well, shortly after graduated, and I was sneaking into the David Thompson and Kamloops from grade 10 on. uh, I'm laughing because my dad was the manager of the liquor store where Mickey bought all the booze for the club, and the fact that they didn't know I was sneaking into the bar, like, I was so bad. Anyway, so I got up and jammed with any band that would let me at the David Thompson, and Weather from Vancouver. I got up and jammed with them all the time, and a band out of Calgary called Elder Dark. Fast Eddie was the guitar player, and they convinced me that Calgary was the place to go. So I graduated and this is all in the documentary as well, and loaded up my Gremlin and off I went to Calgary and moved in with Eddie's girlfriend for about a month and a half, and then found a roommate, got an apartment, and auditioned for a million bands, got into a couple of them, and you know, after moved from Calgary back to Vancouver, back to Calgary to Vancouver to Edmonton to Victoria, back to Edmonton, and eventually ended up with a band called Steelback, and was with them for about a year when Brian McLeod uh, came out one night and, you know, long story somewhat shorter, asked if I would join the band. And against everyone's opinion, stupid Darby, don't do it. They're just going to drop you as soon as Chilliwack gets out of the studio. Bad move. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. But I just felt that the opportunity to work with Brian McLeod was just too good to pass up. So I went against everyone's better judgment, and yeah.
Yeah, and the rest is history on there. You know, I never got the opportunity to meet Brian, but I did get his, and you probably remember this because it was him that had the houseboat, right? And
Yes.
I think he had a 1-inch 24-track Fostex, and I had picked that up. A guy that I knew at
Wow.
Ronald McQuaid got it, and
Wow.
was like, "This was Brian McLeod's old. He would do a lot of his recordings on it." And I'm like, "I'll take it."
Yeah.
Because I was in the market for some stuff, yeah, and I had that for quite a few years. I thought that was so cool, even though, you know, I never knew him, but
Yeah.
I was a fan.
He was something else.
So tell us, what was the early days of the Headpins like?
You know, there's just so many elements that I've made a rule in the past couple weeks in my life to start neglecting the hard times and only focus on how to find a smile and how to be happy. There were some wonderful times with the Headpins, and our fair share of just absolute bullshit, pardon my language, but just like, wow. Lawyers, lawsuits. Um, you know, in the end, I was the lone member to get sued for the Headpin debt. $500,000 was on my shoulders. And I never made a decision in the band. Why is that? Why is that my debt? But you know what? It's over. It's done. I bounced back. I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 times now. So it's it was. I heard a radio announcer ask me once, a radio personality say, was it kind of like boot camp working with Brian? And I'm like, that's it. That's exactly what it was like. It was boot camp. When I was recording the songs in the studio, I would think, wow, that sounds great. I would literally do 10-hour vocal tracks. I didn't
Wow.
think I was that bad a singer, but I would sing for 10 hours straight. I mean, it was boot camp. It was, but, you know, uh, the 80s was a wonderful time being able to work in Vancouver alone. I'm sure you went through this where you could work a half a mile away for a week and then go a half a mile away for another week and then another week a mile away. There were like 15 clubs to work in Vancouver in the 80s. You didn't have to leave town. You could work for 3
Mhm.
months without having to leave town. So that was a boot camp as well. I did more shows in the year I was with the Headpins than I probably have in the last 20 because it was just nonstop. So a wonderful way to hone your skills and work with someone who would let you know when you did it wrong.
Yeah, for sure. I guess that just makes you a better better musician all around. But yeah, I caught the tail end of that stuff because I kind of came in as a kid in the early 90s, and those 6 night a week gigs. And what I've seen is you could work a mile apart because every venue had their own clientele. People now we live in this world where it's all one-nighters, but they want, especially on my level, it's, they want me to fill their venue.
Yeah.
Like if they hired a cook, they want the cook to bring all the friends to eat off the menu.
Yes. Yeah,
So it's
and
a
all
little
the
different.
all the advertising is up to you, and social media. Get your act together. I have 8 different social media platforms. I tell you, it's a full-time job, and I'm kind of getting to the point where a lot of people my age. I turned 65 last year, and are just kind of slowly just like, you know what, it's not needed in my life anymore, and um, I get it, and I try to I try to cut down my time on social media as well, but it's the um, if I'm not on, you lose the contacts, and if you don't have the contact or the
Yeah.
steady, it's just this rolling ball. And if you stop the ball, you have to start all over. What it's the way of the world. Wow,
It,
it's
it's a big pivot. I hear you for sure.
yes,
But
yeah.
so, and you got the Darby Mills Project going now, and I know we've talked a bit over the last few months, and you got a lot of things going on that I know nothing about. So
Yeah.
what can you and can't you tell me about right now for what you're doing?
Well, I mentioned True Story, which I during COVID, being locked in the basement in my studio, besides making jewelry, which was a wonderful. The past 8 years, I've become somewhat of a creative jewelry maker, and I've done very well at it. But I needed, I don't know, if you're a creative soul, you need to be creating. And that really did scratch an itch, especially when everything shut down in 2020. And so I had one video prior to that, maybe two, that I'd opened up Adobe Premiere Pro and said, you know what, I'm gonna do a video because couldn't afford to pay someone to do it, so I'm gonna learn the best I can. And I found it really satisfying. I really enjoyed it, and now that with this live documentary that I'm almost finished doing, I've got 18 months of probably 5 hours a day doing video editing. It's 21 songs long. That's 21 videos. And I know that some 15-year-old kid could probably do this in a quarter of the time that I'm doing it, but I'm learning as I go. And I
Yeah.
look back at the stuff I started almost 2 years ago now and go, oh, wow, like I could fix. So that's the process I'm in now. Everything's done, but I've gone back. And then the other so frustrating part is that you can't just the because it's not just like a lot of the shows that are out there now with screens in behind. It's a picture of an album cover or whatever, and the band plays the song. Whereas what I'm doing is it's so precise on if there's a snare fill or something. There's also it's a five beat snare fill. I've also got 5 beats of changing visuals, right? So everything has to be lined up, and wow, that's been fun. Like, oh
I bet.
man, how is that not lining up? I mean, it's like, oh, it's because when we recorded it, we changed the click tempo, so now it's slower for the chorus, and it's like, oh, so I have to redo every one of those edits because now the chorus is slower, that kind of stuff. Anyway, so I'm just pretty much got all that figured out, and just doing the last bit of polishing. Like I said, going back to 2 years ago when I started doing the editing, and I've gotten so much stronger now with being able to
Yeah.
to do things. So it's really excited. I'm really excited about it, and it tells the story as we started at the beginning of the interview, just walking through why and how and where. And it's 2 acts because the soft cedars need to sell booze on the 15-minute break. So it's got to be 2 acts, which it's going to kill me because once this poor old throat gets swollen from singing and you stop singing, it continues to swell. So getting ready to sing again after a 20-minute break is going to be really interesting. Don't tell anybody about that.
You
God,
just did.
I know. So, yeah. So it's going to be relearning how to figure out how to do that kind of thing. But it's mandatory, apparently, unless you have all kinds of money to pay for the break yourself. And so, um, yeah, whatever. So, what was the question? Sorry.
Yeah, I don't even remember what it was. So this
Oh,
is true story. So it's going to be a
mhm.
live show. Is that what it is? You're going to go
it
on tour and
it is. It's
okay.
a live show in the theater or in the soft cedars performing
Yeah.
arts centers where the camera and work and everything in the background will be interactive somewhat with the band and telling stories and going through the process and hopefully people will be interested in finding out the stuff that you're asking me here. So
I'm sure they will. So
yeah.
when do you start that? Do you have any timelines on that or
Well, yeah, see, it was supposed to be it was supposed to go it was supposed to be streamed live November 8th of last year, and I had that crazy left-hand turn happen that I couldn't tell you about. I couldn't tell anybody about because of a do not I'd signed a do not release or whatever those three-letter things is called, and I went to Niagara Falls and participated in this crazy adventure, and I did really, really well. I did so much better than I thought I would. Um, so we'll just leave that there for now. And came home and only had 5 days to get ready for the streaming. And I knew that before I left. And I called the place that we're going to stream it at and just said, you know what, I'm not quite finished. The band and the videos aren't lining up yet, and I need some extra time. So we postponed that. Hopefully, we're going to do that in the spring of this year. And I'm also, while we're doing that, it will be a 5 camera shoot, and I will be turning it into an actual documentary
like
that hopefully like Queen of Scream is on Telus on demand. So I'll be out selling my wares to whatever company or whatever broadcasting station that might be interested in seeing whatever this turns into now that I'll have a 5 camera shooting the documentary
yeah.
with the 20. So it's all still kind of up in the air, but I'm really excited. It's keeping me from jumping.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great. And I can't imagine people won't be kind of kicking your door down to, be part of it with you,
I sure hope
because
so.
one of the things I want to talk about was like, I come from the blues world and you're the rock world, and it's kind of like a male dominated thing, but your voice is like so well known and,
Manly.
how well, no, but no, we know it's not a man singing, but like I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Like you had something at a time that it was like all guys.
Yeah. It was time. It was it just all came together, it was perfect timing. Just so blessed to have had that. Was only 4.5 years. That's all that was 4.5 years from the first album or the year before the first album when I joined to 85 when I unjoined the first time when
Oh,
McLeod let me go. Stupid woman. Anyway, so 3 albums in that time, that's a lot. I think of it now,
Yeah.
and that's just like, and tour as much as you can, and then back in the studio and write, and yeah, I'm being
Yep.
told I wasn't a writer, and it's like, yeah, whatever. I Whether I wrote enough with the Headpins or not, it wasn't up to me. It was up to someone else. And I think I proved the fact that I could write lyrics when I did the Never Look Back CD, which I re-released shortly after leaving the Headpins in 2016, because I just thought it didn't get the opportunity that it really deserved back when it came out originally in 36, 37 years ago. And I listened to it and it's like, "Well, it's still, I had some of the best players in Vancouver at the time. Dave Pickell produced it, and it just deserved to be heard, in my opinion, more." So it was re-releasing that and realizing that um, the Headpins were going to be the Headpins for the rest of the time that the band existed. And I had no control, I had no decision making. I just felt so locked in and so like, there's so much more. I want to do more. Let's do more. And the decision was made for me that that was just not a possibility. So it was really hard to leave. It really was. I knew that I'd be facing huge mountains, and I have been, and it's okay. I'm still proving my wares, and it's made me work harder and be more appreciative of the success and the failures. So you know, it's the music business. You know.
Yeah. How do you think the landscape's changed for women in music? Like, is it much different now? Because you're kind of touching on some politics, and I was talking the other day with some friends about all the politics in the business, and I absolutely hate it. So I feel your pain, like obviously on a different level. But how has that changed from the time, like the '80s was? Like, I think things may be more tolerant now. I don't know. How do you see that landscape have changed over the past 30 plus years?
Well, it depends on whether you're talking live or recorded. Those are the two totally different businesses.
Both.
Yeah, well, Canada, for the classic rock, which is where I've spent 40 years, it's narrowed itself down to a very few amount of people who run it and who control it, who can make decisions on who works and who doesn't work. Um, uh, as long as you're willing to go along with that, you'll get whatever work is available out there. For the recording industry, record companies, from what I see, I'm not a recording artist at this point in time. Um, like, I, I don't. I, I thought it was a joke before for artists to make money off records. It's like, uh, it's
It's even worse now.
oh my goodness. I I I don't know how it's allowed to be what it is right now. I mean, it is such, it's a farce. It's yeah, yeah. I'm
I
staggering, so I'm stumbling. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I get it. Like there's some things you want to say, but you kind of go, oh well, maybe not.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Well,
everybody I've had on the podcast has been that way. Like I had one with Dave Chisholm, who's very outspoken, vocal guy, right? But he's just like, I don't know who's gonna see this. So
yeah. Oh, really, Dave? Really?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah. You know what? For sure. I mean, I've stuck my neck out many times over the years, and some foolishly, and some just for the fact that it's like, well, how you're so locked into a corner. What else are you going to do? Quit or say what you got to say and suffer the consequences, or pick up a fan or two for saying it like it is. So no, it's that thing I did back in November out in Niagara Falls just reaffirmed that everything is bought and sold. There's people at the top that control every decision. It doesn't matter. Um, it's the whole thing's a farce. And so back to what I said at the beginning, I've just decided that I'm going to find my happy place and just do what I want to do, and to hell with those that are going to hold you down, stick a thumb on your forehead, or cut your
Yeah.
legs out from under you. You know what? It's just like just go do it. Just to hell,
Yeah.
because if you have I'm trying to have dignity in my final years of this journey, and I'm proud of what I've done and how I've stood up for myself. And come at me, what else can you do to me? It's all whatever, that's whatever.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great place to be, doing it because you want to, not because you have to, not having somebody tell you what you need to do, kind of do it on your own terms. Like you have at least it appears that, you have a good following. People know that like you were the voice of things that happened in the past, and now you got your DM project and you have a following. So like as a musician myself, I envy that in ways, because you can kind of stick it to the man in the business because you have a following, so you can put on shows and you can draw in ways that people at my level can't, in terms of bringing people out, because a lot of people that support music, they don't necessarily know all the politics that have
Oh,
happened
for
over the
sure.
years and
Yeah.
things like that. They just go, Darby Mills, fuck, I love that voice, like I'm going
Yeah.
to see her, where me, if I don't have the man kind of saying, hey, I'll put you on that opening spot for the big name band that drew everybody there, I someone like me doesn't get that opportunity. And I find myself playing clubs and struggling to put 100 or 200 people in them versus maybe something bigger.
You know what? I'm in that's where I'm at right now. 2020, the 2016 is when I started DMP, and we worked really hard and we did well, even though I was told it was never going to happen. And there were forces attempting to make it not happen. And we did great, and we built and built and built. And 2020 happened, and I was being booked into places that I was told I would never play. You'll never get in there. And it was happening. And March 2020, the world shut down. And it's been a real journey trying to come back from that.
Yeah.
I've never worked as little as I have the last 3 years. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why the video, that's why reinventing yet again. And also, I put a local project together here that we started rehearsing a month before, or in November of 19, and we'd got about 6 rehearsals in when the world shut down. But luckily enough, we would continue to rehearse through COVID. And it's called press play, because that's what you would do to the tape recorder when you would listen to these songs, which are old classic. And I've just heard a term called yacht rock. It's a lot of yacht rock stuff. And just songs that I don't have to sing at the top of my lungs, songs that meant something to me when my brothers and sisters were listening to them, when I was still in my 6 and 7-year-old childhood phase of what's this music? What is this? So wonderful stuff. We've done a recording, and even that, I've got Dennis Marsenko is the bass player in the band, and he is my favorite bass player in the whole wide world. I just love that man so dearly. And I've promised the band that we wouldn't work in venues that brought you in for $100 a play or whatever. It's like, no,
Yeah.
I've got Dennis Marsenko's played on Johnny Carson twice. I mean, come on, he's a god,
Yeah.
So,
I know.
right. So I
I
guaranteed these players a certain dollar fee. So once again, what that is that we are going into venues that are not controlled by an agency or, um, the policy is if you've got the money to buy the room, you can play there. So that does mean that you have to go out and sell this show. It's all on you. It's a new world. So we bought the Vernon Town Theater, which the first movie I ever went to was in the Vernon Town Theater when I was like 4 years old. So full circle event. Did
cool.
posters, hung them up around town. I mean, it was like being in my first band all over again, and that's kind of what True Story is going to be like as well. It's um, reinventing, taking a step back to the beginning, although there is a history now. And I do feel that the players I'm working with now and the work that's going into the projects now aren't weekend warriors. These are full-time
Yeah.
musicians, and we deserve to be paid a fair dollar for our work. And that's what the industry is today, at least for me.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work, and however many years I got left in this crazy world that we're entering into, or that we've been in for the last however many years. You know what? I'm going to give it all I can at this point, and just see where the chips fall, and hopefully make a living. Because my musician's pension is not happening. It's just not happening.
Those words have actually never even come out of my mouth for,
Yeah,
for
well,
what I've done.
I know. I say them and
Yeah.
giggle,
Yeah, for sure. I
Ha
want
ha.
to circle back to Dennis Marsenko because he is like world-class player for
I know,
sure,
right?
and a world-class guy. And he might kill me for telling this story, but we did a gig on the Sunshine Coast, and we rode out together, and we were sitting in the ferry lineup, and I think he had just got a new iPhone. This was probably, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago or something. And he's going through the iPhone. He's trying to figure out how to get this thing to work, right? And and Siri comes on, and she keeps coming on and talking to him, and he's getting real frustrated with it. And then he's like, Siri, stop being a see you next Tuesday, right? And he just goes off, and then all of a sudden the phone stops, it beeps, and it goes, calling Jerry Cook, the sax player.
Oh no.
Right? I'm like, you gotta, and we both looked at the phone, and he just let it ring, and then Jerry answered the phone, and he's just like, told Jerry the story, right? Here's why my phone rang.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was the craziest thing. I don't know if it was one of those you had to be there moments, but he's such a cool, funny guy. And I heard
He's
he's
my
into cigars. I've been into cigars lately, and some buddies are
oh,
like, "Oh, you got to talk to
Dennis.
Dennis. He knows his cigars."
Cigars and golf.
So
He's my
yeah,
golf partner. We do indoor
is he
golf all through winter. Yeah, he's my
awesome?
golf partner. Yeah, I beat him 2 weeks ago for a couple holes anyway.
Where's he at these days?
He lives in
Is he?
Vernon.
Oh, he's living in Vernon. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay, I didn't know that. Oh man,
yeah.
that's
He
cool.
he married Debbie, and Debbie's from Vernon, and he moved up to Vernon, I don't know, 8 years ago. I'm sorry, I don't quite remember, but
Yeah,
yeah. Well, Press Play's been going. This is coming up on our 4th year now. I can't believe it, and yeah,
that's
it's
awesome.
yeah.
That's very cool. Yeah, I'll definitely tell him I say hi. And
I
who else
will.
is in the band? Who else is in the group?
John Trakiel, guitar player. He's in Kamloops. So now when we rehearse, we have to drive to Kamloops to rehearse. So that's always fun. And we had another drummer for the first 3 years. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore. But we've added, oh my goodness, Richard A. Graham, as he puts it, and he's also from Kamloops. So yeah, just some awesome players and some great tunes. We all sit down in stools to perform, and yeah, I'm just loving that is my pension right there. That's the band that's going to keep going long after I can't scream, turn it loud anymore. Yeah,
No, that's very cool.
yeah.
So you got a couple things going on. Do you have any shows lined up right now, or are you just kind of working on these projects behind the scenes?
Well, there's a couple of shows for the summer for DMP, for Darby Mills Project. We haven't really set the wheels in motion to get True Story going because it's not finished yet, and
Yeah.
I don't want to put it out until it's done, until I'm happy with it. And even though we're so close, I got to get down to the coast. That's the other thing. Whenever I go to rehearse with any of my bands, it's either a 5-hour drive or an hour and a half drive. It's brutal,
Yeah.
but I got to get down to the coast. We're scheduled for late January, early February to get a rehearsal in because we have to rehearse with the screen to make sure the screen work and the band are lining up. So it's a bit of a maneuver to find a rehearsal space with the screen that we can run everything properly. So we're in the midst of scheduling that right now, and then hopefully by March or April we will be doing the 5-camera shoot at a venue, which I won't mention yet because it's not set in stone and I don't want to put them under pressure, or me for that matter. So
For sure.
but we've been talking for months. They're going through a bunch of changes right now too. They've just been invested by a major company from around the world, so they're going through all whatever. Yeah, just like
That's a
spaghetti,
lot.
throwing it at the
Yeah.
wall, and hopefully something's going to stick.
Yeah. See
What else
sticks.
can you do, right? Just keep trying.
For sure. So
Yeah.
one thing I didn't ask you is who. I know this is such a loaded question when people ask me, but who's as a singer, who's your favorite singer or your biggest influence?
Oh, wow. Yeah, right. It depends on what year. Obviously, my early years, Ann
Fair.
Wilson
Yeah.
was huge. Linda Ronstadt, um, and then later on, I mean, I listened to Queen a lot when I was a kid. Um, and then in the later years, my oldest son introduced me to Katy Perry and Lady Gaga. Both of them are incredible artists. Um, uh, Ariana Grande right now, not necessarily so much as a singer, but as an all-round artist. I've just been so impressed with her uh, incredible talent. Watching her on Saturday Night Live, she did 4 or 5 skits the last time she was on there. That had to be 25 pages long of dialogue, and they've got guests on there that can't do 2 pages or a page of dialogue without messing up or looking very uncomfortable, and they're actors. And Oriana came on there and she was just like bang 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 bang. So huge respect for that young lady. And but as far as old women like myself, uh I will always respect Cher, Bette Midler, Tina Turner. They are the women that showed me what it was to be hardcore female badass entertainers. And yeah, whenever I'm looking for some inspiration at my age now, I look at those women and go, wow, they're still, well, some of them
Timeless.
aren't, but yeah, they're timeless. And
Yeah.
look at Cher. I mean, yeah,
Have you ever thought about acting?
I was
Because you mentioned
asked.
Ariana Grande, and my kids watched. I forget what the show's called, but they watched the show, and she was on it all the time, right? So she's pretty good.
She was so bad on that.
acting.
No, bad in the sense of she was played the dumb
The
broad, and
ditz. Yeah.
it's been coming through my feed a lot lately, and it's like, wow, how she put up with that, and yet there's stories out right now. She's coming out with of how the manipulation of those actors on those shows and stuff it got. It's like, ooh, not good what
Yeah.
was going on behind the scenes, and Hollywood, the
Yeah.
movies, TV, it's a scary place. It's a scary place. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess there's something to be said for, what they say about behind the scenes in the music business. I think people are becoming a little bit more aware of it. But you said you got some offers to do acting, or?
I did, back, right around the end of my first journey with the Headpins, and I turned it down. I was not confident in myself, to do that, and I then, ah, was it 2014, I think, maybe, or even maybe 2012, I started being part of the Vernon Glee Club, which I would get up and it was a lot of singing, but acting as well. I never ended up doing any acting. I always came on as a guest singer to sing a song. But for 6 years, I was part of that. And the seventh year, I think it was, the there was a brand new producer that came in, and she got voted in I think November, and then in January she said, I'm out, I can't do it. So they came to me and asked if I would direct that year's Glee performance, which is a 2-act performance. And I decided I was going to do it. What the hell? I'm going to do it. I had so much going on at the time. I don't know what I was thinking. And 2020 happened. Something else,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I guess that wasn't meant to be. But I always thought I would be an actor more than a singer. And strangely enough, it's not what happened. And then when my opportunity to act came, I wussed out and I said no. So, yeah.
How was COVID for you? Because that was a tough time. And you said earlier, you haven't played so little in your career post COVID. And I think that kind of echoes across the board. Myself, the same thing. Like I might play in a year the amount of shows I used to play in a month,
Yeah.
or less sometimes.
Yeah. Well, COVID got my dad. He was in a care home, and he was in one of those care homes that had a breakout. And he managed to last the first basic year, but he had the onset of dementia going in. And you lock a dementia patient in a room for 9 months, it's not going to get better. And I called him every day for 2 years at 6:15 every day. And at the end, he knew I was the 6:15 call, but he didn't know who I was. He just knew something was happening at 6:15. So that was kind of sad. He didn't deserve to go in such a fashion where, a man that just did so much for so many people and worked so hard for his family to be shut in a room at the end like that. But
Hmm.
what can you do, right? What can you do? So that part was very unfortunate. But again, like I've mentioned, I realized that if this was the end, I don't know if anybody knew what was going to happen. I certainly didn't know if we were going to come out of this. So I'd never spent so much time in my studio, and that's when the video editing really and the jewelry really, when I say stop me from jumping, it really did. Not that I was going to jump, but I'm sure that had I had nothing else to do and just continue to lay in bed or watch TV, I've joked many times, but seriously, mixed nuts and wine was a
Hmm.
staple through COVID for me. And yeah. Um, and who's to say there's not another one coming? I saw something on social media that
Yeah.
China's got another one that's just come out. So, you know what? Wow.
It, it could. The one thing I took away from COVID was that, it's like that. I don't know what reality show it is. Expect the unexpected, right? Because who knows what sounds like complete craziness right now could be reality tomorrow. Because if what we went through during COVID, you told somebody in 2019, they would have went, "You're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs."
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was tough, and like you, like lockdown, not playing music and being creative. I found some outlets with my day line of work with marketing that was creative to me, because you're coming up with messaging for things, you're making creatives and doing things. Otherwise, yeah, you go insane
Yeah.
if you don't have a creative outlet.
For sure, if you're a creative soul, absolutely. And yeah, my jewelry started off on that. That's when I realized that's why you've been stagnant. I was with the Headpins for 36 years with a small 3-year break after being let go by McLeod back in '85. But the last 25 years I was with them, there was nothing new, but it was a glory to be playing and making somewhat of a living. I always had a day job because it never paid enough to keep me from having a day job, unfortunately. But uh, yes, sorry, I lost my train of thought. The jewelry, I realized in creating, and I give a piece here, have a piece here, give, and then it's like, well, you know what? The people are really liking this. Maybe I'll start selling them. And at this point, I've sold 500 pieces, if not more. And I would stay up all night making jewelry, whether it would sell or not. It just kept me. I realized at that point, I am a creative soul. And if that's what you are, you need to be creating. You need to be producing something that keeps you from drying up inside. Sorry.
No, 100%. No, I couldn't agree more. So yeah, I'm amazed that you've got so much going on, and as someone that's been in the business and seen the dark sides of it, like I can't, I commend you for the shit that you've had to put up with and overcome. Like it is quite something, to go through that. What advice would you give to a musician or a female musician that's maybe wanting to get into the industry?
Oh man.
I know that's such a tough one.
Yeah, yeah. Depending on your age as well. I mean, I left school. Was 17, 18 when I left, graduated, left home, and that's all I did. I made some decisions and made some moves, and like, would I do them now? Absolutely not. But that's how you learn, by making mistakes and making good decisions. And I mean, I signed my first management contract. I didn't have a lawyer. So my then to be manager said, well, use mine. So I used his lawyer, which
Oh shit.
is illegal. As far as I
Yeah.
know, you're not supposed to do that. But this person was a very, very influential, huge man in the industry. And what his lawyer said to me was, don't sign it, doesn't matter. Where do you think your career is going to go if you don't sign it? The fact.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah, I won't mention names either, but I got a friend of mine. He was he's a good engineer, and he was working a day gig because the music industry didn't pay what people thought, and he was recording bands at night, and recorded a band in the early 90s that really took off, did well, sold millions and millions of records. And the band and the engineer, they were, struggling to get, a bus pass to ride on the bus for a month. So they tried to sue the label, and
yeah.
they went back to Toronto and in the 90s as a bunch of 19, 20-year-old kids said, yeah, you got a $50,000 retainer? They went, we can't even afford a bus pass. How are we going to come up with a $50,000 retainer? And, the label just got away with it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Definitely.
And yeah, there's story after story for that kind of stuff, which is great. Me, I never got into that because nobody ever asked me to sign anything.
It might not be a bad thing.
Check.
I don't know. Yeah. No.
Yeah, fair enough. No, well, I appreciate you taking the time to come on and telling us your story. And before we go, is there anything else that you want to throw out there?
Oh man, other than just saying thank you to you for wanting to even talk to me and my fumbling career. Um, I just want to thank all the musicians that are working with me right now. I know that they are under duress working with me. I know that. But they hang in with me and they have been so good to me. To be hanging in. Sorry.
No, it's all right. No, that's amazing. That's amazing.
And just my husband and my kids, and it's what a crazy life it's been, and I've been blessed in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Speaking of your kids, does your son play hockey?
He did.
Or did
he
did?
Yeah, he did. My dad played hockey. My dad got drafted by the Detroit Red Wings when they were the original 6 teams. Actually, he played with Mahovlich, and
holy smoke.
yeah, I've got pictures of them together, and I just posted on social media. Actually, it was his birthday 2 days ago, and he would have been 94, but yeah, no, my oldest is a graphic designer. I'm very proud of him. He put himself through University Emily Carr, and he's done projects with millions of views. And my youngest was a black belt in Taekwondo in grade 3, and after he got his black belt, he decided he wanted to play hockey. And he was the captain of his team. He didn't play rep hockey because he's too small. I didn't want him being checked because he takes after mom. He's not a big guy, and but he was the captain of his team for a couple of years, and he was a glorious player. And once he aged out of the house leagues, he started playing golf, and he doesn't weigh more than me by 10 pounds, and he can shoot at 350 yards. He's just such a shit. Yeah, I know, he's such a shit. And, and we don't let him play golf with us in the winter because he just embarrasses us, us old people.
Well, I was going to say, you said you and Dennis play golf when you're a kid. I love to golf too, right? So I golf, and I was thinking, oh yeah. And then until you said he can drive 350 yards, it's like,
I know.
No.
I know he can't be more than 135 pounds, right? And he's and he can just like, wow, dude. Yeah. So I'm very proud of him. He's now a CPA, certified accountant. He's put himself through school as well, and he's a senior member at BDO, or senior staffer at BDO. He's been working there since before he left university as well. So I'm so blessed that I've got kids that work hard and are going to look after mom and dad, because we're both in the music industry, and we have not pulled this off at all. So yeah, mom and dad are going to move in with you guys now. Okay. So
yeah, well, that's a common trend nowadays. No, that's awesome. Hard work runs in the family.
Well, and brains skip a generation from what I understand. Thank God. So they ended up with the brains, and mom and dad are here, trying to figure out how to work the music industry. So God help us.
I can't show this to my kids, because then I'm going to have to tell them they're just naturally by genetics going to be idiots, because I thought my generation got the brains.
Well, you know what? I don't know where this poor old world is going to go. I don't want to be a downer, but yeah, no more cursive writing, which is, that's okay, I guess. Um, I, 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 um,
I know
yeah,
it's wild.
you're never going to write anymore. It's all going to be computers, and then whatever country it is, it's going to take and wipe out the internet and kill us like that day that Facebook went down. Yeah, I think I hid in a corner for a half an hour and cried. And seriously, I can't
The
get on
dependency.
Facebook. Really. And so, yeah, banking, money, it's all wow, wow.
Oh, it could all collapse with one solar flare.
I don't think you can go back though. I think that it's just, it's just going to keep going that way.
Yeah, yeah.
And pretty soon we're going to have new presidents and new prime ministers, and wow, here we go. Yeah,
Yeah, I know. It's gonna be an interesting 2025 for sure,
yeah,
especially with what's all happening
yeah,
in the States and what just came out this morning
yeah,
in Canada as well, right? So who knows? But music always trucks along, and we always stay broke while we truck along with it.
yeah, yeah. The arts always takes a hit, but yeah.
Yeah.
Um, find your happy. That's the key. Find your happy, and just to hell with everything. And I have 2 anvil cases I'm selling if you're interested.
Well, send that to me. Actually, you know what? I forgot to. I'm gonna look this up on my phone and see if I can show it here. So I was playing a show yesterday, and a hunting buddy of mine was asking because I missed a couple weeks of the podcast, and I said, "Oh, I was gonna be on with Darby Mills," and he goes, "Oh, I saw them. This is August 12th, 1995. I don't know if you can read it
I've
on
got
there."
no, I can't. You're too
Yeah, I'll,
small.
I'll read.
Yeah.
I'll read it. It was the Bellevue Hotel presents Darby Mills and the Headpins, Saturday, August 12th, 95. And he still had
Wow.
he saved his ticket stub. He's like, "Oh, I love her so
Wow.
much. He's great." Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. Well, hey, hi.
Yeah, no, that's great. But yeah, well, I appreciate you being on, and maybe if you got time in the future when you get those things all done up to your satisfaction and you present them to the world, maybe we'll do another one and help put it out there, because any press is good press, right?
Absolutely. Much appreciated. And thank you so much. And, I tried to find before today, and I have no idea where it is. I've got 7,000 pictures on my phone and 20,000 in my computer. I have a picture of you on stage on Christmas in July, playing guitar,
Oh
and I'm on the
God.
mic with oh my goodness, 2 other female vocalists. I can't remember their names now. And I was hogging the mic. It's so embarrassing. I look at the picture and go, who the hell did I think I was? But there you were. You were in the background, standing right there. Yeah, Christmas in July. Yeah, across from a club that used to be Coconuts, but it wasn't Coconuts. It was across the street from there. I remember the day. I remember being on stage. But I couldn't find it, and I wanted to show you. Actually, I was going to
I
post it today.
I might have it. There was another one I remember because we had a picture together, and that was that so Long John Baldry had something to do with that, because I
He was
believe he
there.
was
Yes, he
there.
was.
Long
Yeah,
John Baldry, Jerry
yeah,
Doucette,
yeah,
yourself. I think Tom Lavin from Powder Blues might have been there too.
yeah.
Yeah,
You're
for music,
right.
that would have been early 90s, because I remember. Yeah, I was just a kid, and I was like in awe of all these stars. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness.
You did great. You did great.
Yeah,
And
my my
I'm.
career went downhill from there.
Oh well, mine too. It's all good. It's all about the mountain, somebody said. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Because
I
once you
never
get
quite
to the
made it to the
top,
top. Well,
yeah,
you made
well,
it to the top and fell off the other side. I kind of fell trying to climb to the top.
no,
That's how I would explain it.
I made it to the top of the 80s classic rockers and have basically been coasting downhill ever since.
Well,
We never broke in the States. We tried 2 deals, 3 deals out of America, and it just never happened. But you know what? I again just grateful that
you're iconic though. Everybody knows your voice. If they and if they can't think, like, if you play the songs that you sang that were hits in the 80s, people go, "Oh, I've heard that before."
yeah.
Every
In
time your song
Canada.
comes on, I'm like, I know her.
Uh-huh.
I know her. They're like, yeah, whatever. No, you don't.
Well, thank you so much
Yes,
for
thank
having
you.
me on. I appreciate it. And if you want to talk after you shut it down, I'll let you know what was happening in Niagara Falls.
Sure. We'll do that. And then also you send me some pictures, and it's going to take me a few days or so to get this out. So you got some time to find those pictures, but yes, thank you. And we'll shut her down, and then you can let me know what went down.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.